Good afternoon, Atlanta Falcon fans. That's right. Don't adjust your dial. You got it. It's my T-Will and Mr. Scott Carasik here. Falcons numbers, defensive and offensive alignment extraordinaire. Football, shall we say? I don't think expert is enough. Aficionado? Should we say football aficionado? I'm gonna say football
Oh,
aficionado. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Mr. Scott Carasik joining us. How are you, man?
I'm
Welcome.
good.
Welcome.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
Hey man, we're glad to have you here. And I'd be remiss in my duty, man. I'm loving the beard. I think
Thank
you and
you.
I were talking about that offline. I'm loving the beard. I'm jealous of anybody that can grow a good beard. That's sorry about that. It's my alarm. Anybody that can grow a good beard that looks good, man, I'm jealous. Everybody who knows me knows when I grow it out, I look well, shall we say homeless? People come up to me
Patchy.
and yeah, no, not patchy, it grows. It just looks unkempt, man. It looks
Uh,
unkempt. Really, seriously.
well,
People come up to me and give me money for no reason at all. I don't know
a
why, but
solid 3.5, 4 weeks. This ain't too bad.
no, that looks good, bro. That's why I brought it up. It's envy. It's all envy. I'm doomed to a life of just the goatee, and it is what it is, man. But hey, we all got our gifts. Hey, man, we're here to talk Falcons and our beloved Atlanta Falcons. But first and foremost, how you doing, Scott? How's your day going?
Going pretty good. They changed something at my work where we get to work 2 hours less during the week, but they pay us exactly the same. So I'm pretty happy about that. And those
I
two
love
hours
that.
are Wednesday afternoon, so I get off at 1 now instead of 3.
I
Um,
love that.
so much more time. Lets me knock out dishes or do what I need to do around the house and then still have extra time to relax.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. So we got Deshaun Coswell in the chat. What up, T-Will and Scott? Yeet, get some. What up, Deshaun? How you doing, man? Scott, if you have not seen the show from yesterday, shall we say Deshaun was on one. Deshaun started a ruckus. It took over the show. It made it one of the greatest shows ever as we went from talking about Falcons to just roasting each other, man. It was hilarious. It was a fun time. It was great. It was 3 hours. I don't know how the hell we ended up there, but it is what it is. And I will forever love Deshaun for it. So, Deshaun, you are the fan of the day for that day, which I think was either yesterday or the day before. I don't know. But either way, fun times, man. So, hey, man, let's get into these Falcons, which is why we're here. Oh, we got Miss Carrie. Hey, T-Will and Scott, lots of moves around the NFL today. Cannot wait for the Falcons to start making moves as well. Amen, amen, amen. So let's talk about these Falcons.
It's
So,
gonna be a couple days. That's all I'm gonna say. It's gonna Falcons are notoriously later. They are more reactionary to the market than a lot of other teams would be. They're gonna do a couple restructures and do a couple of things we talked about last time I was on T-Will's show.
yep.
Where you can kind of see, okay, so they're opening up some space. It may not be fully shared with everybody around the NFL at that time,
Okay.
but it's gonna happen. So
All right. So I think last week we got to maybe around 45 million before we do whatever we're going to do with Kirk, correct?
correct.
All right. So if we get rid of Kirk, I shouldn't say that. Once we transition Kirk to wherever he's going to go or whatever he's going to do, right? Is that going to give us 10 more million or what's the total we get back from that?
I'll be honest, more than likely the idea behind trading Kirk, getting rid of Kirk, is to open up money for next year and the year after. Because the way teams do it, the way 99% of NFL teams do it, except for like the Saints, is they focus on a 3-year period of cap, not just this 1 year. It's, hey, this first year, if we get like a small hit and just plug it in, we're good. but over the next 3 years, how does this really affect our cap situation?
Yeah.
So with Kirk, the idea is you trade him, get what little you can this year,
Okay.
and then you open up 57 the next 2 years, and then you're just home free to sign whoever you want. Because you can be like, listen, I'll guarantee this year and next year, so you're getting all that money, but I just can't have a big hit this year. So we'll do a signing bonus, which we can spread over multiple years.
Okay.
And then we'll do that.
All right.
So,
that makes sense.
An example, I was talking with an agent who is working with a cornerback. And that's all I'm going to share with that.
Okay.
And he said that a standard offer that you would see from a team in the Falcons situation would be, 3 years, $30 million. But the way it's structured, it's going to have like a $7 or $8 million signing bonus. So like we'll say 7.5.
Okay.
That signing bonus would be cut into 3 different parts: 2.5, 2.5, 2.5.
Okay.
And then he'd sign a minimum contract for this year, like minimum salary this year. So this year would maybe $4 million, but the next 2 years would be $13 million on the cap.
Got you. Okay.
And if you get rid of Kirk, that gives you the ability to do that with a bunch of dudes.
Okay.
And have the bigger hits in years 2 and 3. So that's why they're going to do that.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. So with that being said, we've got several positions of need on defense, one particularly on offense. Well, maybe not, because as you and I discussed last week, and I think you're dead on, the drop off between our centers, Dahlman and who's the backup?
Newsel.
The drop off is not that severe. It's not. It's not a chasm. Is Dahlman better? Yes, but
yeah,
we had the 500-yard game with New Zealand.
Yeah. And when you're going against Vita Vea and Brian Brzee and a lot of the big, Derek Brown, the NFC South defensive tackles, your run game's not going to be that good up the middle that day anyway. You just accept it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is that day. Those guys are just the same kind of guys, same kind of space-eating run stuffers that destroy your run game. I'm more worried about who do you get in the draft to learn for a couple years. So that's the review.
So you think we're going to draft a tackle or a center?
I think depending on what happens with the trades and the picks that they get from trading down, I think it's very possible that they get both a center and a tackle in the draft this year. At minimum per depth, right? They may take a guy in like the 7th round who's like a converted guard to a center. There's a kid from, I can't think of it off the top of my head. He's 5'10". He plays for University of North Carolina. And watching him, he brings up a lot of memories of Mud Duck. Just like he's 5'10", 295 pounds soaking wet. But the dude just blocks. He makes the right calls at the line. You can tell he's really got his shit together. Let me pull up my board real quick. I'll get his exact name. But I have like a 5th round grade on him. He wasn't even invited to the combine. Willie Lampkin. So I could see Lampkin being a guy that they take in the 7th. And they're just like, you know what? Hey, we're just going to take him. We're going to take a flyer on him. We like him. Not everybody likes him, but we like him. Quick. Like he's really quick. He's really strong at the point of attack. Got great leverage. Former high school wrestler. I'm sorry. As a former high school wrestler, I'm going to highlight that for all these guys that are former high school wrestlers.
Of course.
Grady Jarrett, former high school wrestler. I trust that kind of guy with his leverage before I trust any of these other dudes with their leverage.
That makes sense.
Because that's all wrestling is leverage. Gotcha. So Lampkin would be great. He's just 5'10". And the NFL has a minimum height requirement for a lot of positions that a lot of teams aspire, or not aspire to, but adhere to. We'll say 6'2" for centers. That's their minimum height requirement. 6'3" for guards. 6'5" for tackles. Traditionally, those are the thresholds you look at for those positions.
Gotcha.
This is a guy that breaks the mold, but because he is 5'10" and is so far under that threshold, they're not gonna. No team's gonna take him super early.
Okay.
They're gonna take him later and be like, "Yeah, I got this guy. He's a beast. Just trust me." And it's gonna be a team that's got those extra picks in the late rounds, which I'm hoping is Atlanta picking up an extra 7. If you see Atlanta trade down and they get an extra 7 in one of these trades thrown in, that's who they're gunning for. I think he fits so well in that spot, and I think he'd fit with Ledford and everything. So that's kind of my view there.
All right. Kerry says, how do you feel about DK requesting a trade? See lots of Falcon fans wanting him. Not that I wouldn't want him, but it feels like a time when all picks and funds need to go to defense, in my opinion. So go ahead. How do you feel about it?
I agree for the most part about most of the resources do need to go defense. I think you could add a couple of pieces that could actually enhance the offense quite a bit. Maybe not this year, but in the future. Aforementioned center position, a right tackle to learn and grow and maybe eventually start the way Ryan Schrader did as a UDFA. Might get a hit in the undrafted free agency this year with the offensive line. There's a lot of good players there. But a speedy wide receiver that is better than Ray McLeod might not be a bad add to this team. Adding somebody at tight end who can play more inline so you can use Kyle Pitts out the slot a lot more, run a little bit more 12 personnel, like what they were originally planning for. The problem with 12 personnel wasn't Pitts. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it wasn't Pitts. It was Warner. Because Warner provides absolute minimum in receiving.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
100%. To give you a name that he compares to in the past of even just former Falcons guys, think Eric Beverly, think Justin Peele.
Yeah.
Just a pure blocking tight end that, he's going to get a catch here and there.
Yeah.
He finished the year, I think, with like 15 catches max.
Yeah.
So it wasn't enough for me to care about his catching ability.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he broke 100 yards. I don't think he scored a touchdown. That's not his game.
No, it's not. Yeah, as a matter of fact, he, once he catches the ball, A, he's not going anywhere, and B, he might just fall down himself, and C, he's not going to be able to contest a lot of coverage. So unless he's wide open, you may as well not even look at him anyway. So I agree.
Yeah. So getting a guy, and this is where we go to potential guys that were cut who might fit here a little bit better. One of those names is Gerald Everett, whose contract voided out with the Bears this year. Now, he's probably not going to be an expensive ad. He's probably going to be like a 1-year, $3 million deal. Small ad to the team. But a guy like Gerald Everett would be a great fit for what the Falcons would be looking for in that regard.
Okay. Let's talk cornerbacks. We need a second corner.
Yes.
And it's interesting when you look at certain comparisons. So Darius Slay was released by the Eagles either yesterday or the day before. And so I've got a comparison of PFF, Pro Football Focus. I've got Darius Slay on the left. I've got Mike Hughes on the right. And Mike Hughes looks better. Give me your thoughts on this.
My thoughts on the cornerback position are get as many good cornerbacks as you can because it is the second most injured position on defense. Cornerback and safety are the two most injured positions on defense. If you can get a good 5 solid cornerbacks, do it. Depending on what Slay would cost. Because let's say Slay costs like $6 million this year. I would take that in a heartbeat, right? Let's say Slay is going to cost $20 million this year. I'd let him go to Detroit. Like, that's how I look at that.
Okay.
Hughes, same kind of thought process here, depending on what he costs. If he's going to cost like $8 million to re-sign, absolutely go for it. If he's going to cost like 12 or even 15, I might say let's look at a younger option.
Okay.
One of the guys I really like is Nate Hobbs. He's over in Vegas. He wasn't really, how do I put this? He may not have been a PFF darling, but he was a really solid all-around corner, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Like, his coverage grade may not have been the best, and it says like he's average, his run defense, whatever. The Raiders were trash this year, right?
Okay.
The Raiders got passed on all year.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with the personnel on the field. Because the film for him, outside of the pass rush grade being atrocious, doesn't really match up with what I saw on film. He's a solid tackler. He's good in run defense. He takes solid angles there. He's not the best tackler, but I mean, what cornerback is going to be the best tackler?
Fair enough.
You know, he's a solid enough tackler there, though.
Okay.
Out of the slot, he's a monster.
Okay.
And that's where I'm looking at Hobbs, because I think Phillips is going to get a lot of time this year outside in the nickel. And Phillips did really well last year in the nickel.
Yeah, he did. It's the whole height thing again with him, but I mean, technically, from a fundamental standpoint, I don't know that there are a lot better than D. Alford. Go ahead.
He got burned by MVS. A veteran burned him. Like, a veteran speedster burned him on a route that he had covered most of the way downfield. Like, the more you kind of look into it, you're like, and it was in his first 1,000 snaps as an NFL player, which means that he still hasn't fully grown into a role yet.
Right.
He's got time to continue to grow, and I think he will. And I think a lot of that issue was Simmons also didn't get back to play his cover two on those plays.
I don't think he did. No, I
So
don't think he did.
If your safety also gets burned on that same play, maybe it's just a good play by the offense. Sometimes that's the case.
Could be. Yeah. Could be.
Those were his worst two plays, was two burns by MVS. Outside of that, he played really well this year. But yeah, Nate Hobbs, I think if you have Hobbs in the slot, because Phillips isn't good in the slot, which, just being honest, you upgrade over Alford. I do think you have to bring Alford back, though, because Alford as a fourth corner was solid 2 years ago, right?
Okay.
So you bring him back as depth. He's a fourth corner. He's a special teamer. He's a guy who comes in for punt returns. Like, that's who D. Alford should be. Not starting and playing every single snap for 800 snaps in the year.
Do you think the Falcons will see him that way? Or maybe a better question is, do you think that he could go out on the open market and be a potential starter? Like, give me your thoughts on that.
I don't think the market's going to be as kind to D. Alford, just in general. His film wasn't as bad as his PFF is showing. He's another one of those. His film also wasn't as bad as Atlanta fans are making it out to be.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Because if you got AJ Terrell playing well, and you got Mike Hughes playing well, you got Jesse Bates in the center, and people just avoiding Justin Simmons, who are you throwing it near?
You're throwing at D. Alford.
D. Alford.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's the guy you're going to throw to, because he's the path of least resistance. So,
all right. So, Scott, give me your free agents that and let's do it within a certain parameter. So let's say I don't think the Falcons are going to look at a center. They may look at a backup center, but I wholeheartedly agree with you in that we don't have $20 million to give Drew Dalman, and I think he's going to get that on the open market. I think Drew Dalman's gone. So with that being said, you know, we've got our backup who now becomes our starter. You're probably I honestly don't think they could draft a center, but I'm thinking maybe they sign one, maybe a tier 2 center. Give me your thoughts on maybe centers who are out there as free agents, cornerbacks, and or safeties, and maybe one linebacker. You know that would come to mind for you that we could sign
for sure. So centers, I'd look at a couple names. One is Wes Schweitzer. He was originally drafted by the Falcons back
He sure was. He's been I'm surprised he's still playing.
He is a very solid depth center.
Okay. He played for the Jets last year, I think.
Played for the Jets last year, but
all right.
He's got a history situation. Because he didn't really play much last year. I think he played 1 or 2 snaps.
Gotcha.
So that wasn't he wasn't out there a lot.
Gotcha.
Now, Schweitzer, when he was the year before, I believe he was with Washington, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me see if I can go to the year before. Yeah, Washington 21. Yeah, I think he was. Let me see if I can go to the year before. Yeah, I can. All right, so let's go to 2022 and refresh.
Yeah, it was 2022. He was with Washington. And he played a little bit of center that year. 2021, he was much better. 2020, he was better. And then he's been kind of towards the back end of his roster.
Gotcha.
But this isn't a guy that you bring in to be your starter. This is a guy you sign a veteran minimum deal.
Okay.
And compete in camp for a roster spot.
Okay.
And then on game days, he plays guard, he plays center, he plays whatever you need if someone's hurt.
Gotcha.
Or you just throw him out there in the special team unit. And he'll be glad to just be on the field and love the field and just love to be out there. And that's Wes Schweitzer for you. He just wants to be out there playing the game. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't know he was still playing, but I remember him playing here. So
he's only 31.
Wow.
I think he was only like 22 when they drafted him too. So I mean, he wasn't an old guy when they drafted him.
When they drafted him, I got you.
A name that they want to get a little premium with it would be someone like Ryan Kelly. Played for the Colts. Also originally played at Bama in college.
For Nick?
Played for Saban.
All right.
When he was coming out, I compared him very similarly to Alex Mack. Athletically, exact same profile as Alex Mack. 4-time Pro Bowler. 1-time second-team All-Pro. You know, Remington Trophy winner, like former first-round pick. Like, this dude's a beast. He's also a bit older.
Okay. So
at 32,
let's
and
see.
with his injury history, I'm thinking you're probably looking around 11 million, 12 million a year for something like this.
Okay.
I know Spotrac might do. They might still allow you to see the contract breakdown. Like
I'm looking at it on the right side over here. So he's got Looks like this past year he had a base salary of $11,375,000. Restructure of
Roughly about 14.
Yeah.
Just kind of looking at it, maybe 14 and a half.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah.
And that's just math off the top of my head.
All right. What do you
year, right? Give him a nice size bonus. 3 years, we'll say.
Okay.
So 3 years, 30 million. Same kind of contract that I was talking about before with what you would do for a corner.
Okay.
And hope that he takes it. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. But you shouldn't go over that. Because you're probably already budgeting roughly a $14 million contract. $14 million a year contract for Dahlman.
Okay.
Now, when I say $14 million a year, think $6 million first year.
Gotcha.
Which is what is actually affected by the salary cap.
Gotcha. Okay.
The structure matters more than total money.
Gotcha. Okay.
I want everybody to repeat with me on this. Structure matters more than total money.
Structure matters more than total money. Okay.
First year cap hit.
You said what?
First year cap hit.
First year cap hit. Okay. All right.
The only thing that matters when it comes to the salary cap. Because the salary cap for future years doesn't exist.
That's true. Okay.
It doesn't exist until that year. That is that year's problem. That's how a lot of teams look at it. Now, they will plan outlay, but they also plan for higher revenues, too. Cap went up to 279 this year.
Yeah, I think.
Where do you think
I think it did 279. 290 maybe. 300, 315, 310 is 310 maybe. Okay.
There's a couple deals that come up after this year for next year.
Gotcha.
For 2026.
Gotcha.
The Amazon deal comes up. Don't think they're going to pay more money?
Oh,
the Netflix deal for Christmas games.
Definitely, yeah.
Don't think they're going to try and get a couple more games out of it?
Agreed.
So when those deals pay out, the cap goes up.
Okay, that's fair. Let's do some housekeeping. So Deshaun says, in hiring T-Will's favorite quarterback, Jameis Winston. Now, Scott, I don't know.
I wouldn't touch that dude with a 10-foot pole.
Thank you, God. Thank you.
Falcons locker room.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
A lovable guy, but he is a moron.
Thank you. Oh my God. It's like you're in my head, Scott. It's like you're in my head. I've been trying to tell Carrie this.
Idea of Jameis Winston starting for the Saints again.
Amen.
I love the idea of Jameis Winston going down and playing for the Patriots as their backup. It's going somewhere to just destroy a locker room. Yeah, send Jameis Winston wherever you want a locker room destroyed. Because whoever your starting quarterback is, he's going to steal it. He's going to steal the whole thing. And it's just not worth it. You're trying to build a locker room, you don't want Jameis Winston.
This is what I want to say, Scott. Did we just become best friends? Because I feel the same way about Jameis. I have been trying to get Carrie to see this because Carrie liked what he had to say. And she was like, oh, maybe we wouldn't mind having Jameis. And I was like, no. Because of exactly what you said. He will 100% destroy a locker room. Now I'm going to ask you, because I know what you're saying, but I don't think the chat knows what you're saying. So can you be a little more granular in why Jameis would destroy a locker room? Because I agree with you in line step, 100%.
So you want your locker room behind your quarterback one?
Thank you.
That's it. That's your guy.
Thank you.
That's the only guy you want the locker room to rally behind. The Falcons kind of screwed that up this past year by bringing in Penix, but Penix was like, listen, guys, I'm the backup. I'm the rookie. I'm just here to learn.
Right.
And it made it work.
Right.
When you have a young quarterback and you bring in a veteran that's very likable, don't get me wrong, Jameis is a super likable dude. if he's your starter, you want him in that locker room. But you can't trust Jameis Winston to get behind your starter. Because he's always going to be like, I'm the guy, and we're going to get a W because of me, even though he's the backup.
Yes.
And you'll have people believing that when you're winning, even with him not touching the field, he was the reason why.
Yes.
You don't want that in your locker room.
Yes.
I don't trust Jameis Winston here in Atlanta with Michael Penix trying to get his footing. Just the psychology behind it doesn't work. If you want a guy for your locker room that's going to be boring and blah and whatever and all that, you want a guy. Now, you didn't say quarterback, but I'm going to bring up a quarterback. You want a guy in your locker room that's going to be this boring guy who just kind of comes in, does his job, and leaves. You should start looking at Joe Flacco if he's willing to play. Yeah, he's 40, but he's a good backup because he'll come in and be like, hey, I'm the old guy. I'm just here to mentor. That's Joe Flacco, right? Like, I'm the old guy. I don't care. You bring in a guy like, I don't know, Jacoby Brissett, who's like, hey, I'm 33. I've never really been a starter. I'm a career backup. Obviously, I'm going to sit here and try and do my best, but I'm not starting. This is Mike's show. You got to bring in a guy with that kind of personality.
Yeah.
You can't bring in a Justin Fields who still thinks he can start. You can't bring in a Marcus Mariota who thinks no matter where he'll go, he'll start, even though he sucks. You got to bring in a guy who's got no qualms about being a backup. Like a Taylor Heineke, honestly, wouldn't be a bad backup here. A Cooper Rush, who has never started and was kind of trash for the Cowboys, you bring him in. He wouldn't be a bad fit.
I like
even a CJ Beathard or a Kyle Allen or a Jeff Driscoll or, I'm just naming dudes that aren't that good because they know they're going to be backups. I wouldn't even trust a Jimmy Garoppolo in this situation here. A guy that could be a sneaky backup would be like a Mac Jones.
Okay.
For being honest. He was a starter. He got benched a bunch. Still kind of trying to get his life through, get a rebuild on his stuff. You bring in Mac Jones, say, hey, just come in, buy into the system. I know it's a little early, and, the Rams have been doing this for a couple years. But Mac Jones wouldn't be a bad guy.
I don't think so. I think Mac would. I agree with you.
He's 27. He had no problem being the backup for Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa for those 3 years that he was in college before he got his starting job.
Yeah.
And it would just be kind of that situation here for him. He'd be like, all right, well, I guess I'm the backup, but I'm going to make the best I can out of it.
He's used to the
role.
Like
he's going to outthrow Penix. It's not like he's going to outrun Penix.
Right.
He is going to be a guy who's going to be like, hey, this is what I've seen in the past. This is where I faltered. This is where I did well.
All right. Awesome.
That's the kind of thing. Not James Winston. Get him out of my.
Thank you. Amen. I couldn't agree more. Christy Lewis says, evening. Hey, Christy. We got Deshaun and Carrie in here. And we got Jay Black who says crab legs is locker room death. And I agree with him 100%. Christy, how you doing? Hope all is well. Let's see. Carrie says Jacoby Brissett. She says, I said Joe Flacco, but they told me he's too old. I did say that. If we're talking about backup, you said what?
If Flacco wants to still play, he could easily be that Steve DeBerg type backup for the Falcons. That, he's 40 years old, but he's the guy who can come in and start a game and win it for you.
Yeah. J&D Truck, and how you doing, J&D Truck? He says, what's up, fellas? How far does Mike Green fall? And can we move back and draft him? Also, can we get Khalil Mack? I like the Khalil Mack. I don't think the Falcons will touch Mike Green just because they don't do that, right? If they didn't touch Jalen Carter, who again, I'm not making small of what he did, but he didn't. They were drag racing. He didn't cause the accident. He left. You said what?
What Jalen Carter did pales in comparison to what Mike Green did.
Correct. Or is accused of.
I will leave
he was found innocent
information, but anybody that has been accused of any sort of sexual assault or rape or anything along those lines, accused of
twice,
but just accused of, that's it. Accused of,
right,
is probably 99% off the Falcons board.
I would agree. I would agree 100%.
Only thing that I will say. So Hairston, the corner out of Kentucky, probably not on the Falcons board.
Okay.
Mike Green, probably not off the probably not on the Falcons board.
Yeah.
Miss Winston, probably not in the Falcons sights. Because he had that whole situation at Florida State.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anybody, because of what happened with Prince Shembo back in 2014 and a bunch of fans being like, nah, this ain't it. And then also in 2021 with Deshaun Watson, with a lot of people being like, oh, dude, I can't root for the Falcons anymore because of this shit.
Right.
Those two things have really turned that into that's a no-go. We don't mess with that. We don't touch that. And unless they do draft a guy like that, I'll believe it when I see it. So
I'm with you.
Green fall? How far does he fall? He's probably off the boards of 18 to 20 teams.
Yeah.
He probably falls to like 32.
Yeah.
Eagles probably take him.
The Eagle. He'll be an Eagle. And they'll have the best defensive line on the planet.
And because the Eagles don't care about that stuff.
They don't. They don't.
But I expect the Falcons to hold a higher standard myself. So
yes.
We'll go with that.
Let's look
now
at it this way.
Matt question. I'll just. Oh, you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. A lot of these Fortune 500 companies have female CEOs. You can't they're not just going to be like, oh, I mean, twice, not once, right? Twice. Nah, man. And look, he might be innocent, but at the very least,
twice,
he has very poor judgment. I'm innocent until proven guilty. But all I'm saying is if you're in that situation once, that is a life changer. And not that I've been in that situation or ever want to be into it. I'm using my imagination. But you are talking about everything that you love being challenged, called into account, your reputation. I would never put myself in a position to do it twice. So that to me says you have either you got very poor judgment or right.
Could be the start of a pattern of people that start coming out.
Yes.
And I don't take I work in banking. I work as a loan officer. It's a risk management position. It is a reduction. You try to reduce as much risk as possible before you get the loan approved, right?
Yes.
So for me, I look at the NFL draft the same way, and I have for the last 2 years, just really kind of looked at it as a risk management proposition. On field, I don't really see much risk there.
Not at all.
Off field, ton of risk. Too much risk. Not worth it. I wouldn't have them on my board.
Yes.
If I wasn't covering the draft like I always do, I wouldn't even have him on my board.
Yes.
He would be a character red flag that I would not touch.
Yep. Agreed. So, all right. Khalil Mack, what are you thinking?
Now, Khalil Mack, I would take here in a heartbeat. Question is what his money is going to look like. Is he a $15 million a year guy? Is he a $25 million a year guy? If he's closer to the 15 range or less, I can see the Falcons going after him. That being said, he's not from here. He doesn't really have any ties here. He doesn't really have any ties to anybody in our group, in our coaching group, in our front office group, except for Ryan Pace. That's the only guy that has any sort of tie with Khalil Mack. And Ryan Pace traded him away. So overall, I don't really see him coming here.
You don't? Okay. All right. Well,
as much as I would love him to come here,
okay.
as good as he would be here,
Okay.
I don't see him coming to Atlanta. I think he re-signs with, I was going to say San Diego, but the Chargers. And that is, I think he re-signs with the Chargers. I think he stays where he's at. I think he plays another year or two for them and then finally retires. That's going to happen with Mac.
Okay. All right. So Kerry says, I prefer to bring a veteran over a young guy. That way we don't have to worry about any quarterback controversy. Everyone will have fat. I'm just going to say BPE, Kerry. I'm not going to say it.
Okay, I think it's funny.
You're a bolder man than me, Scott Carasik. All right. Yeah, so kind of along the lines of what you were saying, basically somebody that has accepted the role of being a backup and is really not doesn't have any aspirations of being the starter anymore. They're very self-aware.
Or a veteran mentor. They're like, hey, I know I'm not going to start, but I would love to be a veteran mentor for your guy.
Yep.
And the Flacco DeBerg situation to me makes a lot more sense. Like 1998, Steve DeBerg played for the Atlanta Falcons. He came in for 1 or 2 games and they won. And that was it. And they basically relied on the run game and gave him a bunch of easy passes, and that's basically it.
That makes sense to me. Let's see. J&D Truck says, Kerry, you really want to piss Falcon fans off? Bring Ritter back as the backup. Quote Uncle Steve. I love Desmond Ritter.
I would bring Ritter back as the backup.
Oh, wow. Oh, you are throwing out all the stuff today, Scott.
There's a reason why, though.
Oh.
As a cap guy, primarily, and the way I look at this kind of stuff, Desmond Ritter would be minimum salary. He'd have to earn his way onto the roster performance-wise. This scheme fits him a lot better than Arthur Smith's goofy bullshit. TM. And again, veteran minimum for, he's what, a third-year guy, fourth-year guy now? It's like 1.1 million. Like, it's veteran minimum, so it doesn't really matter. Like, you're going to have that salary on your roster anyway. And if he earns it and he's okay with being the backup, it's not a problem.
Let me ask you this.
If he doesn't earn it, you just cut him after camp.
The goal
of the GM is to get 90 dudes on your roster.
Yeah.
So that by the time you get to camp, you've got a good competitive atmosphere. And if the guys make it, they make it. And if they don't, you cut their ass.
I get it. But let me ask you this. There, believe it or not, there are quite a few Desmondites out there. Now, I don't know what their total number is, but do you think you'd be stoking the fires of conflict and quarterback controversy if you bring them back? Like, do you think that, or
no? Because Penix is really friggin' good. Like,
Penix is awesome.
Penix is the guy moving forward. Like, he showed it in 3 games last year that he's way better. He's got a rocket strapped to his arm. He's really accurate. Like, I would keep him as quarterback as long as he will stay here. And he's got the kind of game that suggests he could play until he's 38, 39, 40, that by the time his arm strength starts to wane a little bit, it ain't a big deal because he can still make that throw. It's
right.
all accuracy, all anticipation. I've never seen a quarterback as quick with his processor and as smart as Penix is.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, and don't get me wrong, Matt Ryan was really smart. I've never seen a quarterback just buzz off that first read right after pre-snap and just be like, oh, nope, boom, fourth read.
Yeah.
And he can count it. And he's doing these half a second a read. It's not like it's half a second a read and then boom, starts to throw.
And that arm, man, that throw that he made to Kadero Hodge, I don't think that there are. I can't think of another quarterback.
Back shoulder versus the Panthers.
Yes, but it was a rocket, right? Maybe Aaron Rodgers 5 years ago could make that throw. Maybe
Pat Mahomes.
Maybe, yeah. Pat Mahomes,
Josh Allen. I don't know if Lamar Jackson can make that throw.
Not with that velocity. I mean, and don't get me wrong.
With that velocity, no.
Lamar can make some throws, but we're talking about velocity and accuracy. Because he put it where only his guy. I mean, bro, that throw was ridiculous.
But he has touch too.
Absolutely, 100%.
He made a couple unicorn to Drake where you were like, huh.
Right.
He took a little bit off of it there to make sure Drake was in the right spot.
For the scenario, yes.
So
yes.
And he was rolling out, and it was just like he could snap it if he wanted to, but he just didn't lob it, but put a nice little touch
right where he could get it. Yeah.
And Drake got another 5-6 yards.
And that throw to Kyle Pitts was ridiculous because he put it where only Kyle could get it. It was that was and low key because it was only 20 yards or whatever. But that was one of the greatest throws I've seen. Because it was fourth and forget about it. It was fourth and go home, right? So I cannot tell you the ungodly amount of pressure that's on him. And he throws a seed where only Kyle can get it, puts it low. I mean, phenomenal. And that throw,
poor guys, because if you watch it from the quarterback perspective,
right,
there's like a linebacker and then a corner and then a corner, it's like a linebacker, corner, and then like a safety behind, and you're like, I wouldn't attempt that throw.
I wouldn't even think about that throw, but it got on him so quick they didn't see it.
And then right in the bucket, just caught it right there. He had had caught it the way you're supposed to, back of the football, bottom of the football, just brought it in.
Got it. Yep.
Touchdown.
Yep. Man, Mike says
if they hit the ground, it didn't matter because his hands were on
nobody else is going to get it. Yeah, exactly.
Else is getting it. That's his ball. It's his ball. Caught it the way you're supposed to. I think if we let them, you just got to get that whole group together in the offseason.
Yes.
Just get Drake, just get Moon, just get Pitts, just get Bijan, just throw them all together, give them a football, say have fun, just get your chemistry down, practice your shit. We'll figure out other options for this offense, but you 4 are our guys.
Yeah.
Or sorry, you 5 are our guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Mad Mike says, Scotty too hottie. What's good? All right, Mad Mike. We see you. J&D at Mad Mike. When do you sleep? Mad Mike says, dropping the video in a few minutes. Hey, man.
Mike doesn't sleep.
I can't be mad at that.
He's too busy. The demons keep him up at night. I'm just messing with you, Mike.
I was not ready for that. Okay.
I mean, we got the next.
I wholeheartedly agree, Scott.
That could not have had better timing on the screen, though.
No, it couldn't have. That was perfect. That was perfect. J&D, okay, catch you later. Be blessed, bro. Christy, that would be so Atlanta. A Terry shop and save move.
Talking about the Ritter thing.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Christy says the total number is 2. Don't know what that's regarding, but okay. Off topic for a moment, fellas. Who's the third man? You got Rock and Cena. Any chance it's Jey Uso or Roman Reigns?
What do you mean the third man?
Wrestling, I don't know. I've
been watching wrestling. If I'm picking the third man,
who's next going to turn heel? I guess who the next guy to turn heel?
It's Travis Scott. He was the third man there.
Oh wow, okay. Travis Scott, it is.
Yeah, I mean he's already the third man at the pay-per-view. That's who it is.
Travis Scott. Two Ritter fans that are left. Wow.
Come on now.
Wow. Christy, I don't know because I'm telling you, I'm in a lot of these chat groups, man, and I'm telling you, there's still folks going. So I don't know about that, but hey, that's interesting.
I mean, let's put it this way: Arthur Smith's a moron, as we saw in Pittsburgh this year, right? That was his proof of concept. what he would look like if he had a competent quarterback, right? Russell Wilson was competent.
Yes, he
He
was.
still looked like shit.
All right. So we're gonna have a little activity. It's called trade, franchise, or sign.
Gotcha.
Trade, franchise, or sign. I'm gonna give you 3 contestants, and you give me your thoughts on what you do. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Number 1, and I'm gonna give you all 3 first. Number 1 is gonna be Russell Wilson. Number 2, who was it that requested the trade out of Seattle?
Metcalf?
Metcalf, DJ Metcalf. And number 3, Kyle Pitts. So Russell Wilson, DJ Metcalf, and Kyle Pitts, trade, franchise, or sign.
So effectively, I would franchise Kyle Pitts, give him one last year to prove his shit, which is what the Falcons are doing.
Okay.
I would trade Russell Wilson because he just sucks. And then DK Metcalf's a top 5 receiver in the league right now. Sign him.
Okay.
You know?
There seems to be, how do I say this? Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Russell just seems to rub some people the wrong way. Any thoughts on what that is? Because Mike in Pittsburgh. I mean, he pretty much, dude. He had AB, right? He had AB. So if Mike Tomlin, and I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just saying the Steelers don't have a quarterback, right?
Correct.
Russell was not great, but to your point, he was competent, right?
Correct.
So I kind of draw from that for them to be like, nah, he's not the guy. I don't know. He just tends to rub people the wrong way. Give me your thoughts on that.
Russell Wilson, how do I put this? Sometimes if guys are a little too Jesus-y in the locker room, it comes off disingenuous.
Okay.
And it comes off as fake.
Okay.
And then when they're arrogant and they don't back it up, it comes off as extra fake.
Okay.
So Russell's current situation is that essentially. And I don't think a team wants to sign him to be a starter moving forward. But he's got the arrogance of, if I'm not starting, I'm not signing. I think it's very possible Russell Wilson does not play in the NFL next year.
Okay.
I think it's very possible this was his last year as an NFL quarterback.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Jay Black says T-Will Russell has a standoffish personality that is not team oriented and locker room friendly. And I think you're both right. Yeah, I think you're both right, because it would have to be, and not that I'm defending Sean Payton. I'm not. In no way would I ever defend Sean Payton. But
I mean, I've warmed up on him now that he's with Denver.
I will never let it go. I am petty, Scott. I'm petty.
No,
I will never let it go.
I get it, but at this point, he's with Denver. Like,
I don't care, Scott. We will be enemies forever.
We won't see him for 3 more years.
If I see Sean in those streets, I'm not speaking, Scott, and not that he would care, because who am I? But Sean Payton hated Russell. Hated him.
Yes.
Hated him, right?
Yes.
And then Mike Tomlin, who again managed AB for years. So he doesn't, the asshole gene does not bother him. Clearly.
I mean, he's got George there now.
He can manage assholes, right?
Yeah.
But one and done with Russ, like it's got to be something. That's all. It would have to be something. And look, I don't know Russell, and I'm not attacking him, I'm just saying his
He's
affect is just it's got to be off-putting.
he's done, and he needs to admit that he's done. And I think the smartest thing Pittsburgh could do. I know we're not a Pittsburgh podcast, but my wife's a Pittsburgh fan. So
What?
I gotta throw this in there. I think the smartest thing Pittsburgh could do is sign a guy who can stopgap for them and potentially tank for them if he doesn't just go off. And honestly, for them, that guy might be Mac Jones.
Do you think? Okay, so I have two questions for you because now that you said that, I didn't know this. So number one, what was week 1 like for the Carasik household? I just gotta know.
We were at the game
Mm.
at really good seats that my wife's uncle got us. Because he's buddies with a couple guys. He's actually on like some documentary on Netflix. But he got us hooked up with some solid seats, and like it was cool. It was great. I was like, dude, Kirk ain't it. Week 1, I was like, Kirk ain't it. I hope Penix is really good because Kirk just isn't that dude. And Kirk had a couple good weeks, but I was just like, I don't know. I don't think Kirk's the guy. Even after the Eagles, even after the Chiefs, I was like, I don't think this is the guy. I don't think he's gonna be here past this year. Was what I was thinking the whole time I was watching Kirk. I'm like, he's gonna self-destruct at some point. When does it happen? And then I got kind of lulled in like week 7, week 8. I was like, all right, I think he's doing all right. That second Bucks game, I was like, okay, I think we're good. I think he's actually going to be decent this year. And then he fell apart after I started to believe. So don't let me believe in a dude like that again.
Don't do it.
Don't make me believe in you.
Don't do it. Shame on you, Kirk. Shame on you. Hey, question for you. Because I know, like, I love my wife, man. I love my wife. She's, as a matter of fact, today's our anniversary. So, very, very, very great day in the Wilson household. But I also know myself, right? If my wife was the fan of another team, right? I'm just going to put this out there. And we played each other. And my team wins on the car ride home. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Oh.
No, I would have been. Well, because we also went with her dad and her little brother who are Steelers fans.
Oh, so you were outnumbered.
I was outnumbered, but had we won, I would have been insufferable. I've been like, y'all got to fire Tomlin.
Oh,
but the thing is, her dad and her brother would have been way ahead of me on that. They would have been like, Tomlin sucks. We need to fire his ass. He gets you to the playoffs and then just doesn't do shit after. He'll get you to 9-8, 9-8, 9-8, 9-8, 9-8, 9-8, and then that's it. And then you get nothing more. Get his ass out of here. I want a coach who can actually win me a Super Bowl again.
You know what? Ironically, Scott, Tomlin is his own worst enemy from the standpoint that he wins, right? He went even without quarterbacks. Because let's be honest, he hadn't had a quarterback
since Roethlisberger.
Yeah. Right.
And honestly, before the last 2 years of Roethlisberger.
Yes. Yet he's never had a losing season. So either they're going to have to trade up, which is not going to happen this year, because I don't know that there are great quarterbacks. There might be 3 or 4, but I don't know that
one. There's one really talented potential quarterback. There's one lottery ticket. And then there's one guy who's going to be a top half starter for maybe 3 years, and then he's going to go back to being average.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's what you got. Like, there's not really much there. Like, this isn't the class to do it in. Next year's class is better, but it's still not great. 2027 is better, but it's still not great.
Yeah.
Every 20 years we'll get a class that gives us like 7 starters, and then outside of that it's like a bunch of just backups and trash. So Tomlin doesn't really have that chance for a quarterback.
And that's my point. And that's my point. So Eric and I have a cousin. My brother and I have a cousin who's a Steelers fan, and he is so over Mike Tomlin. And I'm saying to myself, dude, the guy's never had a losing season, but it's like, yeah, I know, but it's perpetually 9-8, one and done in the playoffs, and people just get sick of it. But still, I mean, hey, you know what? I guess it just depends on how you look at it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd take Tomlin in Atlanta in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
If Tomlin ever decides to leave the Steelers, he is probably either retiring and just done with football, not going to be an analyst, just going to be done with it and be good and be happy with his 2 Super Bowl rings. And, and I feel that for Tomlin. Like, I would be the exact same way. I'd just be like, you know what? I won a Super Bowl. I had a bunch of really successful years. One of the winningest coaches of all times. That's just what I was. Like, that's, if I was Tomlin, that's what I would do. Or he's going to be like, let me go be a defensive coordinator somewhere and just enjoy the game again.
I can't see that, Scott. You really think he'd do that?
I've got a theory, right? Let's say 3 years down the line, Falcons are super successful.
Okay.
They may not have won a Super Bowl, but they've had, 3 straight playoff appearances, been to a couple NFC title games, didn't get to a Super Bowl yet, but all that. Some team hires away, I don't know, Jeff Ulbrich.
Okay.
To be their head coach because they're like, oh, same way Aaron Glenn got hired, right?
Gotcha, right.
Super successful last couple of years, but didn't make the Super Bowl. So same thought process there. All right, well, in that situation, what do you do? Who do you hire? Well, Tomlin just retired from the Steelers and was like, hey, I'm out. His contract's over, all that. Says, hey, I'm out. Contract ended. I'm out. I don't want to be a head coach anymore. I just want to work with the defense. Bring him here.
I would love that.
Have him give Raheem some advice on how to get over the hump. Even though he only did it once, he still did it, right?
I would love that.
And by then, Penix is hitting his prime. Bijan's in his prime.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Guys are just hitting their prime, and you got Mike Tomlin running your defense.
Holy cheese balls. I would absolutely love that, Scott.
Bring back the grid splits.
Why did you give me that and put...
You okay there, Terry? I think Terry froze up because I can't hear him at all. Did my screen crack? Or did Terry's screen crack?
Oh, wait. Sorry about that, guys.
There you go. You're back.
Yeah, it went away, and I was trying to bring up the show on the YouTube because I was going to type in there. Guys, sorry, StreamYard is doing StreamYard stuff. But, Scott, hey, man, that is a wonderful thought. I have nothing to combat that. So, look, I think we end the show here because, I cannot imagine a Tomlin defense. And Tomlin and Raheem together? Are you serious? They'd be like the Legion of Doom.
Well, and here's the thing. Tomlin and Raheem are friends.
They are the best, but they're the best of buddies.
Where'd they get their start together? Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, yeah. That'd be great.
Tampa 2.
That would be great. Oh, my God, man. You just put a thought in my head. Jeez, man.
And that's only if Tomlin doesn't want to be a head coach, obviously.
That would be great.
The other thought is if Tomlin or if Raheem fails and Tomlin's like, I'm out of the Steelers. I could see Arthur Blank being like, I got you, Mike.
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, yeah. But
I mean, hey, you haven't had a quarterback, but we got a quarterback, so we'll give you the rest of what you need.
And let's do it. Yeah. I honestly, man, I like the first one better just because I'd like to think we're closer. But But either way, man, I'm good with it. But I like the first one better, man. What a man, you just sent my imagination into overdrive. I'm gonna be thinking about this. But that's phenomenal, man. Well, hey, Scott, I thank you for joining me as always. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, thank you for joining us. We're going to try and make this a bi-weekly thing if we can, schedules being what they are, Scott being a mover and a shaker, and me trying to come up in the world, even though I'm 54. So what? It's a little late. But, yeah. Scott, tell these folks where they can find you.
You can just find me at my Twitter. It's at Carasik S. That's really the best place to find me, unless you somehow find me on Facebook or whatever. I post a bunch of stuff on Twitter, and that's really where I'm at. Like, I post a bunch of thoughts. Sometimes I post bad jokes, and people don't get them, and they think I'm being a jerk. Is what it is. Not everybody gets my sense of humor. It's a little dark sometimes, a little dry, but that's, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, I'm sorry. Wasn't meant to be, was never intended to be a dick move or dick saying. If I'm gonna be a dick, you'll definitely know I'm being a dick. It's Twitter, it's not that serious. Like,
I love it, man. I love it. One thing I will say about Scott is a master of spreadsheets and defenses and offenses from an alignment perspective. He knows all coverages. He knows all alignments. He knows all setups. He is a whiz at it. And we're lucky to have him. So we get to see him every 2 weeks. I think it's awesome. I don't know what I did, God, but thank you. I probably didn't deserve it, but thank you.
You know what I'd like to do?
What's that?
Maybe we do some prospect film sessions.
Yeah. We can do that.
Film sessions on some of these new guys too.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to do that. I would love to do that. That would be great. So hey guys, more to come, more to look forward to. Like I said, we'll probably try and do this every 2 weeks, and get together and put together a good show for you guys. Again, Scott is a very knowledgeable man. We're lucky to have him for as long as we can. You know what I mean? That's the thing about great talent. You can't promise to hold it forever, okay? But hey man, while we got him, let's take advantage and let's do it, man. And Scott, let's be great. So guys, this has been our Wednesday show on the For My ATL Sports 1 channel on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. Again, For My ATL Sports 1 on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. And look, man, we just want to make great content for you guys. We want to edutain. We want to educate from the Scott perspective, because he knows more than, he's probably forgotten more than I'll ever know. And we want to entertain from our perspective and just have a good time, man. Let's get together, talk Falcons. So again, please click on the link, like, share, and subscribe. The more you do that, the more it's in the algorithm, the more content we can bring you. And we appreciate you. I want to thank God, because hey, wouldn't have been awoken without him. Appreciate him allowing me to be here. Scott, I want to thank you for joining me and giving me your time. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, thank you for joining us. You could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to do so. I humbly appreciate you. And last but not least, thank you to Mr. Jack Spade and Eric Parker, the two gentlemen that gave me my start in this business. Guys, you have an amazing day. And I will see you guys on Friday. So have a great day. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.